He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches Podcast would like to thank our sponsor, Vertical Raise. Elevate your program's fundraising this season with Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform for organizations of all sizes, using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with your local fundraising coach, who works with you every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser for your program. To find out more, reach out to Justin Kilpatrick at justink@verticalraise.com. or follow at Vertical Raise, capital G, capital A, on X. Justin Kilpatrick is a territory sales representative. His number is 229-860-0057. Again, you can reach him at justink@verticalraise.com. Justin is good people. I've met him at a golf tournament this summer, and he's done a lot of good work for a lot of programs over the state. Reach out and see what he can do for your program. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today got a good friend of mine that I met him when he first got started coaching several years back. He is a native of Tifton County. I know his story. I can't wait for y'all to hear it. Coach Israel Troupe, thanks for being on with us.
What's going on, Coach? Man, I've heard it. A lot of stories on this thing, man. I was just waiting on my opportunity to be on with you.
Well, I'm trying to branch out and not just have all us old farts on here, get some of you young guns on here, and you're definitely one that everybody's waiting for you to make that jump to the big chair. It won't be long now. And but before you do all of that, you're going to have to tell us how it all got started.
Man, like you said, I'm originally from Tifton County, born and raised. Didn't even start playing football till I was in ninth grade. And you won't believe this, but I tell people this all the time. But I was in the band. I played the trombone, and the old story of my mama won't let me play, football. That's what it was. So there was a guy, and I know you know this name by the name of Ware Williams from Tifton County, right? So he coached my dad, all my cousins, my uncle, and all them. And he said, "Mama, he's gonna play football." He shows up. I kid you not. I'm having a baseball tournament at UGA, and he shows up, and he's like, "Come over here." And I meet Coach Calloway. When he was the O-line coach at Georgia, I go in there, meet Coach Rick and stuff for the first time, and he's like, "You gonna play football next year?" I'm like, "Man, Coach, my mom ain't gonna let me play." And he goes, "Well, she don't know won't hurt you." And I said, "Well, you got a point there." So, I started playing in ninth grade, made it all the way through to like the third game, and I sprained my ankle and had to go home and tell her. And you'd think somebody shot our dog, man. She was like, "I can't believe you went out here and played and didn't tell me." I said, "Well, Mom, I'm pretty good at it," and she continued to let me play and stuff like that. So, finished that season, because I'm a baseball guy.
I was about to say, most people didn't know you were a baseball guy.
I'm a baseball guy, so I went on and played football and all that stuff. But, my true love, is baseball. I tell, my players all the time, like, I like football, but I love baseball, but now it's like I love coaching football, but I like coaching baseball. It's vice versa now. But, go through all that, end up going to Georgia on a football scholarship. And hindsight being 2020, had I sat home for about 3 more days, I got drafted, by the Colorado Rockies. And, they were like, "Hey, you're already at school. That's why you went a little bit lower." I was like, I'm enjoying my time. I tell my son, "Look, son, if that happens to you, we're going to go play baseball, buddy. I'm going to tell you that right now." I love my time at UGA. Got to, play for one of the best coaches in the world, and Coach Rick, and Coach Rick gets a bad rap of, he's not firing stuff on the sidelines and all this stuff, because when you see him on TV, he's not. But you people were not in the locker room when things weren't going well. So I'm just going to leave that at that, because I love the man just that much. Played with some really great guys, No Sean Marino, Matthew Stafford, AJ Green, You know, a lot of my teammates now are coaches as well. So, you know, and he did a really good job of, you know, helping us get to that point, you know, and just being a player's coach himself. So, and that just kind of propelled me to where I'm at now. You know, started my coaching career in Turner County.
That's where we met.
And that's where we met. I was like, who is this dude? By far one of the funniest dudes on the field. I'm talking about, you were giving the kids the business, but they loved you at the same time. I was like, I want to be like that guy when I grow up.
Yeah, I saw you. I was like, man, who is this ginormous black dude all tatted up, standing over here? Looks like he could play tomorrow. Looks like a linebacker. And one of the kids was like, Coach, that's Israel Troupe. He played at Georgia. And I was like, baseball? He's huge. And they're like, no, he played football. And then when we got to talking, you were like, yeah, I played baseball too. I was like, good gracious alive.
Look, man, like I'm telling you, if I knew then what I know now, I'd still be playing baseball. But I started out Turner County, had a great season, played for John Gamble, you know, and I'm always in debt to him because, you know, he gave me my shot. I'll never forget, I'm sitting in Atlanta working for this real estate company, and I look outside and it's sunny, you know, and I'm in my little cubicle. I'm like, man, I can't do this. Because, you know how athletes are. We can't just sit in the office all day and just, you know, do paperwork or sit on the computer all day. So I was like, you know what, let me get into coaching. And my 5th grade science teacher, she was working in Turner County at the time, and called me and said, Coach Gamble was looking for a receivers coach. And I said, I'm coming home. So I came home and did that. The very next year, I had the opportunity of working for the most famous man in the world, Rush Probst. And I know he gets a bad rap, you know, but I love Rush. You know, if you ever had a chance to sit down and talk to Rush and actually just have a regular conversation with him, man, he knows football backwards and forwards. You know, gave me the ins and outs of the game and the business, because, you know, now high school football has become a business. You know that. I hear you talk about it and tweet about it all the time, how much it's become a business now.
And that was at Colquitt.
Yeah, that was at Colquitt. And we go there, and, you know, we went in 15, and then I get a call. Coach Alan Rodemaker got the job at Valdosta in 16, so I go there. Then we went in 16. You know, worked there for 3 years, had a really good team. And then in 2019, I go to Valwood, which is a private school here in Valdosta, and I become the offensive coordinator there. And we played for it in 19, but we ended up losing to, you know, that mountain of a school, John Millage. They were really, really good. I had this running back that's probably still running right now because he ran all over us that game. And then gave it the old college try, and, you know, went to, you know, Doherty County schools, which is, you know, in all intents and purposes, is a really good system, to be honest. But the football just wasn't, you know, up to par. You got to think, you know, you come from Valdosta and Colquitt County, you know, that's what you see all the time. You know what I mean? And then to go to, you know, Doherty County, you're like, wait a minute, y'all ain't got no police escort. Y'all ain't got no trailer or anything, you know. So, you know, worked for a really good friend of mine, Lacey Herring, and one of the worst things I've had to do is tell a really good friend that, hey, man, this just ain't for me. I'm gonna have to go somewhere else and spread my wings somewhere else, man. But he understood, you know, and ended up going to Ware County, worked for Jason Strickland, who was, you know, has been a great mentor to me. And we win it in 2022. With that team, had a really, really good team. And, you know, Coach Strickland is one of those guys who one of his best sayings is, as long as it's not going to make me mad, we'll do it. So he gave me the opportunity to actually, because I wanted to become a head coach. You know, that's always everybody's goal. You know, so he would always sit me down and say, hey, what are the things that we need to do, you know, for you to get there? And I'm like, hey, can I take over academics, you know, and can I take over the equipment room? With little things like that, you know, so to take it off his plate, and to two, because one day I'm going to have to know how to do it myself when I'm a head coach. And he did a really good job of, you know, just let me do that and do those things on my own. And it was really, really hard leaving Ware County. You know, I would go back in a heartbeat, but, you know, I got the opportunity to become the offense coordinator at Thomasville the Bulldogs, not TCC. Make sure you get that right. And, this year will be my first year as offensive coordinator at Thomasville. Coach DeLay, I've known Coach DeLay for 17 years. He was a GA at UGA when I was there. So we've known each other for a really, really long time. And he's a great coach. And just looking forward to, seeing what the Bulldogs have in store this year. And it's really good to say go Dogs and not go Gators, so there's that as well.
Yeah, I imagine that was kind of hard for a DGD to say, there for a while. But hey, you're getting to the age where you start realizing that until the University of Georgia sends you a paycheck, you're going to love them. They're your team. That's who you play for. But
absolutely, but hey, whatever mascot signs these checks, that's who we rooting for.
Yeah, I played in Jeff Davis's golf tournament this past weekend, their fundraiser, and there were these two older ladies there from Jacksonville, and they had Florida Gator everything, like their golf bags, everything. And I walked by and I went, ooh, somebody vandalized y'all's golf carts while y'all were inside. And one of them said, baby, if you just rub on that golf cart, that bag right there, it'll give you good luck. I've been playing so bad. I kind of stood there for a second and I said, oh hell, it can't hurt.
It can't hurt.
It ain't gonna make me no worse. They got tickled with that. But by day 2, I wanted to climb in the golf bag. I needed more than to just rub on it. But it was.
Man, look, it's amazing how you can play good because I'm a golfer now too. And it's amazing how you can play lights out one day. I'm talking about everything's working. Then day 2, you look like you can't even walk and chew bubble gum. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, how did you? Yeah, where was that guy? Or it just happened over a span of holes. Like you'll play 4 holes, and you're like, you're freaking Tiger Woods, and then the next, you're the Tiger King. The rest of the round, it's just, oh my God, who's this guy?
You went from prime Tiger to new Tiger.
So you went from freaking the band, literally from the band to play in scholarship at the University of Georgia. That's insane.
I did. And, it's, I was blessed, I was blessed with the athletic ability to do so. And Coach Weldon, who was our OC at the time, when I became a sophomore, he was like, hey, we already got a quarterback, you're going to be the backup quarterback, but, you can go out there and start at receiver. I said, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go start at receiver. You know what I mean? And
I'm not going to stand up here and watch.
Absolutely not. And that's one thing, I try to tell our kids, man, and try to tell kids today. I mean, it's not hard. Well, the hardest thing is to get parents to understand that it's not that your kid is not good at this position or it's, playing favoritism. It's like, hey, we already have a kid established here. They can go over here and do something else.
Well, and when you got to Georgia, what did they tell you were going to play?
I was going to play receiver.
Okay.
Like it was no doubt in my mind. Dabbled at running back for a while because that year all of our running backs got hurt. So I mean it's really how can I help the team? And that's one thing that the older I get, and I hear you say it all the time. The older you get, the more things change. But it's like, what are we doing? When did it get to the point to where parents and stuff are telling coaches and stuff what their kid is and ain't gonna do? You know what I mean? So
yeah, because when you get to, you rolled up into Athens, if they'd have looked at you and said, Troupe, go to corner. All right. Okay. Am I going to be able to play there? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'll go there.
Yeah. Like
we need you to put on 20 more pounds, play outside linebacker. Gotcha.
Absolutely. That was talked about for a second.
Yeah.
I think it was 2009. I think we only had like 2 linebackers left because everybody kind of got hurt. It was like, hey, Troupe, would you be interested playing linebacker? I said, absolutely. Can I play over there?
Yeah, bet.
You know what I mean? So if I'm playing over here, I just want to make sure I can play over there. That's the only thing I was working out. You know what I mean? So
well, one of the cool things that, probably the reason why Coach DeLay's done hired you down there at Thomasville is it seems that if you're on the staff, you got a pretty good chance of winning a state championship, sounds like.
You sound like all my buddies. I'm like, look, man, I don't know what happened, but I just get in the right place at the right time. And I actually heard you say this, I think, last week. every move, you see how people say, hey, he's moved around a lot. He did this, that, and the third. And I'm like, every one of my moves has been calculated. I've played for, been a part of 3 state championship teams, and I've been able to play for 4. And every year has been, an increase of something,
Yeah, I mean, you make a lateral,
or money or anything like that.
Make a lateral
nothing's
move.
Been a lateral move.
No, don't make lateral moves. But if you're moving up like George and Wheezy, that people can't say nothing.
Absolutely.
And this day and time, old coaches ain't administrators anymore. Administrators are English teachers. They don't know the difference.
Absolutely.
Are they not going to take an administrative position because they're not going to make more money? I would leave. If somebody offered me a job today making more money, I'd resign and leave today. And there's nothing they could do about it because it's vertical and it's a raise. They can't deny you a raise. Well, you signed a contract. So I'm getting paid $50,000 more to go be the countywide AD at XYZ High, wherever.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, who wouldn't do that?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean my children would get more stuff? It'd be easier for me to pay my bills? Yeah, I think I'll go do that.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good move, and it's been through really good programs too. So
right, and
that's
you get
one
to meet
thing.
More people and work for good people.
Absolutely, that's one thing. And if I have any advice for anybody listening who has not been married yet, make sure you find a wife that understands this lifestyle. Because my wife told me a long time ago that we can't go anywhere that doesn't have a Walmart or a Target. So those are 2 things that were most important to her.
That sounds like Rachel.
When we moved.
Yeah, it sounds like Rachel. When we first got married, I'd talk about some place we were going. She's like, what they got? I'm like, well, they got a Zippy Mart and a Dairy Queen. She's like,
a Zippy Mart.
Yeah, that ain't good enough. You're going to have to do
that
better.
Ain't going to cut it.
Yeah. I think the smallest place we went, we were in Ashburn. But, you're close. You're close enough to Tifton.
It's only 20 minutes away.
Yeah, you could get to a Walmart. And we had just got married when we were there the first time. We were at Turner County because I coached there in 2002, and the fire ant capital of the world.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely, I know that place like the back of my hand.
Go picking them kids up from the quarters. Getting them to practice.
Still there.
Yeah, they still there.
It's still there.
Yeah, they're still there, and good kids. I mean, one of the police officers there, Sean Jackson. He was. I coached him, and he's one of my favorite kids ever. Good kid, good athlete, good ball player. And we used to play spades all the time and pick at each other. And they were doing a haiku lesson in ELA, and we would write each other haikus on the board about the other one being ugly or breath stinking or whatever. And it's just, he'd leave one for me, and then I'd have one waiting for him the next morning, and it would be perfect 5-7-5 haiku like it was supposed to be. And it's like, he made it fun. They were. I enjoyed my time there, but you leave there and go work for one of the most infamous, famous, however you want to call it, coaches that go to Moultrie and really learn, like you said, the business, because that place is run, and he ran it, and it has to be run like a small college program. No doubt. And I mean, the assistant coach that was there, Sean Calhoun, who's the head coach there now, me and him would sit, and, he kind of taught me the offense, and Joey Bennett was the O-line coach, and that's really how I learned offensive line play. I would sit and just listen to him, and he would go over the drills and why we did this and that. And I mean, it's just, I learned a lot of football, coming from Georgia, you think football, you know what I mean? Because you're playing at one of the most elite levels of the game. And you realize once you start coaching and having to teach other people football that you don't know nothing, so you're like, hey, let me go in here and try to learn. And that's one thing that, a lot of, and I've heard it on your podcast a lot too, is, young coaches not wanting to learn. Man, I was a sponge. I would sit there and I would learn how to do this, how to do that. Hell, I learned how to turn the laundry machine on. You know what I mean? So, it's just things like that, we kind of take for granted because, hey, I know this, or, this person on YouTube said that you can do it this way. And, then just
drawing it down on a piece of paper and you actually talking through it.
When you left there and what was it like working at Valdosta?
Oh man, it was great. It was great. Going into that 16 season, nobody knew what to expect. It was just, Gillespie had left. He had gone to Georgia Southern. Coach Rodemaker was, coming in as head coach from being the DC. And, you hear about Valdosta, and, what's expected and the tradition of Valdosta, but you don't really know about it till you get there. And people around here, because I still live in Valdosta, they love football. They love football through and through. And Coach Baker would always come by. He used to be my neighbor before we moved to Lee County. And, he would come by and always, be ready to talk to the kids and things like that. So you never know football until you get to the Wintersboro Classic. That's when you realize that Lowndes and Valdosta, they really do hate each other. I'm starting to learn that now with Thomasville and TCC and the Rose City Classic too, is that y'all really don't like each other, like at all. If you want to see somebody fight, just mention, TCC around a Thomasville person or vice versa. You'll see a fight for sure.
Yeah, it was like when I was at Northside. You weren't allowed to you weren't allowed to wear red. You couldn't have anything red. Yeah. You couldn't have a red car. They didn't even mention the other school. They were called the other school. That other school.
Yeah, I like how you say that. That other school over there. Nobody cares.
Yeah, you didn't say it. And then that week it was everybody. Let's get a demon. Now it's been a while since they got a demon, but because Warner Robins has been on that run. And I'm sure they're the same way. Going back to the way. But that's just cool when you can be part of one of those kind of rivalries. I mean, it's just like you said, there ain't nothing like it. But yeah, Coach Rod's a good one. You got to work with him on staff and then, transitioning him getting to be a head coach again. I bet that was fun.
Mm-hmm. That was fun. That was really fun. And,
interesting.
You learn about the, what it takes to win, from a different standpoint. You're at Colquitt, so they've been winning for a while, but when we came into Valdosta that year, it was about getting it back, to what, Valdosta's used to, you know what I mean? So, there were some long nights. I learned about the grind by working at Valdosta. That's not a bad thing. You learn, what to do and how to manage your time and things like that. And I just know that I never want to do that again in my whole entire life. So
yeah, those expectations are a lot different. It's like Coach Dudley said, some places are 10-0, 15-0 places, and some places are 3-7 places.
Yes.
And Valdosta is like a Buford or, a Moultrie or, places like that where the expectation is state championship.
That's it. That is it. And, the older I've gotten and the more places I've been, you start to realize that we really didn't have to stay there that long to do that. And that's not a knock on anybody. Everybody has their way of doing things. But, you and I talked right before we got on this, is that I've learned that less is more, especially now. With how everything's going now, it's just like we don't have to be here all day to do this. We have huddle, and as long as you have internet and a cell phone, you can get a huddle without having to look at each other all day. And people having to drive by and say, "Hey guys, they're still there. They're still working." I actually get to go home, and put my babies to sleep.
Especially when you've got a 5-month-old, which makes number 3.
This is the boss lady now. She's the true boss of the family.
Get to spend time with your kids, which is important, especially, this will date the podcast because it'll come out a couple of weeks after. But yesterday being Father's Day, I hope everybody did what was important and spent some time with, if they have children, spent time with their kids. And if you don't worry, because you're a coach, you've got kids. They just don't necessarily belong to you. You've been a daddy to a lot of them that weren't yours anyway. So
absolutely, you're the dad, you're the banker, you're the therapist, you're the janitor. You're the Uber. You take on a lot of hats when you become a coach.
Well, what was it like going from Valdosta to Valwood?
It was
I had Ashley Henderson on here, and
I worked with Justin.
Yeah, I had Ashley on here, and he did the same thing. He transitioned from Valdosta to Valwood.
Mm-hmm.
It was just interesting talking about how he got, making that transition.
Yeah, and then it's different. You go from, the public sector to the private sector, but, the kids remain the same. They just got a little bit more money. That's the only difference. I had a really good time. It was my first time, really truly, being my own single play caller. Justin kind of took that. I was always been a co-coordinator this, co-coordinator that. That's just a title. How that goes in this business. But, being the guy to actually do it, Justin gave me my first shot, and it was really fun. We had about, I think 45 kids on the team, so we were like a smaller single A school. But the kids played hard. They played it really hard, and we went on a run. We started out, I think, 1-2 to begin with. Then we routed off, a bunch of wins, ended up winning the region and playing for a state championship. So I loved it there, and, but at the same time, I like this thing called retirement too. So, I had to get back into the public school setting.
Well, when you were at Ware, you got to work with some of my favorite people that are on that staff, and Andy Dent's one of them. I was in his wedding, he was in mine, and y'all got to coach the same position group together, and that was neat to me that you got to experience him, because he's one of the most humble and laid back, and he started out in the business world like you did too. And when he told me he was going into coaching, I was like, "Are you insane? What are you thinking?" I was like, "Don't do it." And then, he got hooked up with Strick and Fitzgerald, and had been with him since then. So, I just thought it was cool that you got to work with him there. And then Strick, of course, is one of my favorite people. He's just
absolutely, Coach Dent's really, really good people. Everybody needs a Coach Dent on their team, whether it's a coach or, somebody affiliated with, your football program. You need a Coach Dent. And, I was more so the enforcer of the receiver group, but I remember one day, one thing that I always I said, if you make Coach Dent mad, like, it's going to be a bad day for you. Like, I promise, he never gets mad.
Yeah.
Like, he's always positive. He never gets mad. And one day, they had I wasn't there at the time, and they had made him mad. And I came in there guns blazing. I was like, "Don't you ever in your lifetime make Coach Dent mad ever again." Because like Coach Dent's like that dad that you just never want to disappoint.
Yeah.
You're just like, God almighty, man, he mad. And but I love working with Coach Dent. And like I said, I've talked about Strick, and I can't talk about him enough of, giving me the opportunities that he has and opened up a few doors for me. And he's always been, a great mentor to me. He still is to this day. But, with Coach Dent, Gabby, his daughter, she was a sophomore last year when I left, and she wrote me a note that I still have in my book bag to this day. That just shows you what kind of, guy that Coach Dent is, and, the kids that he's raised, that she was going to miss me. And I still have that note in my book bag from when she wrote it. So like I said, I miss Ware County, and happy to be where I'm at. But, it's really hard when you leave a place that you like. You know what I mean? You leave, you're like, nah, I'm out of here. But them places that you like, and you're just like, I don't know if I really want to go or not. Those are the hard ones to leave.
Well, the transition is good though, and you're making that transition, and that's part of growth. That's part of the business. Ain't nothing personal. It's just business, and
absolutely,
it's an opportunity, and it's one you can't turn down, and still within driving distance of where you're at, and Thomasville is one of the most storied programs in the state of Georgia. It's not like you went to Ookie Bookie High School somewhere, in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to win any games. It wasn't lateral. It wasn't step down or anything like that. So, you got to look at it that way.
That's right. And coming here, they actually, this is why, I'm indebted to Thomasville and the way that they do things. And I'm so happy to be here. I was in the process of, a head coaching opportunity. And they literally kind of waited the storm with me, through that whole entire process. They could have went with another guy and said, "Hey, we ain't going, you got time, do that, this, that, and the third." But they literally held that job for me through the whole process. you know, and because they wanted me there, and it's good to be a place, you know, where you wanted. And as soon as that situation didn't fall through like we thought, you know, they welcomed me with open arms. There was no ifs, ands, and buts that I was going to Thomasville. So, you know, that's hard to find, especially nowadays, because I mean, they're like, all right, we'll find somebody else, you know. But they held strong with me through the process, and you know, even helped me a little bit through the process as well. You know, it just kind of shows you, you know, the admin that they have, and my head coach now, and Coach DeLay, you know, who's rooting for me as well. So I can't help but give them 110% every day. Well, especially when you got people like that in your favor.
Well, it goes back to what you said too about knowing Coach DeLay for 17 years and building relationships. You know, that's been a common theme on, you know, with everybody we've talked to, is how important it is for, you know, younger coaches to understand, no matter whether it's when you were a player in college or when you were a younger coach, don't burn bridges with those people that you come across, because you never know who can help you down the road.
Mm-hmm. And I tell you this, you need every last one of them, you know, especially if you have aspirations of being a head coach. You know, certain bridges you're going to burn just because it is what it is.
Right.
Don't burn all of them.
Yeah.
Don't burn all of them, because you're going to need them.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody the other day about an opportunity, and I told them, I said, look, baby, the people I know, I might can help you get an interview, or I might can talk to somebody who can help you get an interview for a coaching job or maybe a head coaching job. But as far as making decisions, I don't run in those circles anymore. You know, you got to be an athletic director or an admin, or, you know, you got to be tink. I mean, you got to be a high-level administrator, somebody that's fixing to be a superintendent, somebody that's, you know, one of those guys. You need to know those people these days. Used to, you could be a coach and get people, you know, help you. And, you know, that's something I've tried to do over the past few years, is reach out and branch out and try to get more into knowing more athletic directors and knowing more upper level administrators that could actually, you know, policy people that actually make the big decisions. Because all the stuff we complain about, we can't do anything about. Coaches can't do anything about it. But if you're an AD or if you're, you know, an administrator, yeah, you can figure out how to make it where we don't take a week off during Thanksgiving, but we're still starting the season in August. You know, I mean, you can make that happen. You know, you can put somebody's feet to the fire and make them admit that the reason that we do all this is we count backwards from the availability of the bins. You can do that. I mean, I can say it is. I can scream it from the mountaintops like everybody else. I mean, what are they going to do? Not hire me? I don't care.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't do any good. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're playing football in August when it's 130. I mean, people talk about how hot it was last week and this weekend, and, you know, how hot it's supposed to be this coming week. Well, it ain't got hot yet.
No. Wait till end of August, and people say, they're like, man, it's hot now. I said, dude, just wait till that last week of August and that first week of September. Let me tell you something now. I've seen the devil walk across that football field plenty of times.
Yeah,
on certain days,
looking for air conditioning.
Look, in a sweatsuit and a pair of J's, just walking across the field like, hey man, how y'all doing?
Yeah, what's up? So as you've made the transition from major D1 athlete and into coach, you know, what's something as a younger guy that you notice about the business that, you know, from your perspective, that you see that is a little bit different than you thought it would be, or, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, just that you didn't expect, or, you know, you've been at really good places, you've had a lot of success. What are some things that you've seen that you're like, I wasn't really expecting that, or you see things that you realize, okay, this is why these places are good. It isn't just the fact they have good players. You know, what are some things that you've noticed that you would share with other young guys that you would say, look for this?
Man, the biggest thing is admin support. You know, I hear you say it. I hear Coach Tink say it all the time, and every coach on here. Whenever you're looking for these jobs, you know, make sure you ask about admin. You know, ask about, hey, what's the daytime schedule? You know, do what leave and all that stuff. Make sure everything's right in your contracts. I mean, they'll get you. You know, so they'll feed you all this really nice stuff in the beginning. You And then when you get there, like, oh, hey, by the way, this is how it is. So just make sure you get that on the front end. Find, a mentor of some kind, people like you, Coach Freeman, Coach Strickland, my old head coach, Jay Walsh, who's back at Bainbridge. Are guys that I lean on. Keith Goss, who's my offensive coordinator, Jason Slip, who's my receiver coach, guys like that, lean, ask questions, because I can call you in a heartbeat and be like, hey, what you think about this right here? One, because you're going to tell me the truth, and you probably know a little bit more about the situation I do, so I'm going to ask. You always need people like that in your corner. Don't be either. I used to be, I'll call it any of my mentors and, ask questions and things like that. And, but the biggest thing that I've noticed now about coaching is kids just miss practice. They miss practice for a dentist appointment, or, families going on vacation this week when they've had to schedule all summer long, and that's just one thing that just never happened when I was in school. Now, you didn't miss practice, or they got a stomach bug or something like that, and it's starting to become a problem, and the parents these days are more involved. You remember when, you can attest this from being a baseball coach, you remember when little Johnny's dad would sit on the fence and just get on little Johnny all the time?
Mm-hmm.
You remember those days? And we'd be like, dang, that parent's kind of crazy. We don't got the parents no more because them parents are now yelling at us.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works, ain't it? We're like, dang, little Johnny's dad needs to chill out. And I were like, where's little Johnny's dad? We miss that little Johnny. You know what I mean? So
yeah, just
the recruiting world's got kind of crazy, and everybody thinks their baby's D1, and they're not. It's just how it is. This thing called the portal. That if your baby don't want to do what he's supposed to do, or if he's 5'9", and that guy is 6'2", I think they're going to go with that guy.
Yeah, I watch all this stuff on Twitter, and I saw somebody the other day, they put something on there, bless his heart. He said something, I don't even know where the kid was from. He was from somewhere, and he was he thought a lot of himself, and he put it out there. And I was like, he said, most slept on, whatever. I almost put on there, I almost responded, but I didn't, because I'm an adult. But I almost said, most humble too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when he gave his measurables, I'm like, you're not big enough to play major Division I football at those measurables. And I'm not going to tell him, but if I go to try to sell him to those coaches, that's the first thing they're going to say.
Yes, I tell parents all the time, you should probably, if I were you, I would go to the college, during spring practice if I can, things like that, and look at those athletes, and then ask yourself, does my child look like that? If they don't, there's your answer.
Or or is there a chance he can look like that? He might not weigh like, they can put, they feed y'all, but they fed y'all, but you know what I'm saying? It's like Casey Vaught, when he was with us, he came from Mercer, he was the O-line coach. He said the first thing he did when he went to recruit offensive linemen, if they couldn't look him in the eye, they weren't playing for him. And I'm not taking shots at Mercer. That was at Mercer. We ain't talking about Michigan. We ain't talking about Ohio State, or Georgia or Texas, or, we're not talking about, we're talking about, group of five. We're not talking about Power Five. And,
absolutely.
You ain't 6'7", 330. He's 6'4", 270. He'd be a good center. He might be a good size youngin for high school, but he ain't big enough to play in the SC and C on line. He just ain't.
I went and seen Meeks at UGA last year that played receiver. He's transferred to Syracuse now. And I'm standing next to him. I'm like, there's no way this kid plays receiver. Because I remember when I played receiver. Now I'm 50 pounds, a lot heavier than I was back then. But I'm just looking at him like, there ain't no way that this kid runs, a 4.4 and he is this big. You know what I mean? So these kids are different nowadays. And, of course, strength and conditioning and the nutrition program, things like that are different now. But, man, these kids are built different.
Well, and then you throw the portal into the mix and, everything kind of moves down a level.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not a dude, you need to be looking at other avenues, and don't close yourself off to. I mean, that's my biggest thing with the parents is I'm all for them being overzealous, and it's your kid. You sell them, but don't be ashamed to go into Northeast South Dakota State if that's who's willing to pay for your school and go.
Absolutely, ain't no doubt. I can tell you right now, Tatum Troupe, he ain't nothing but a little string bean right now, and I'm like, hey, if you don't get no bigger. This school is want to pay for everything, and son, your daddy is a football coach now. That's a teacher. We ain't like we making all this type of money. So that's where we're gonna go. You know what I mean? They give you an opportunity. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I tell my kids all the time. Just go make the most of the opportunity. Because with the portal, if you can go to Timbuktu and still make it to a Georgia, or South Carolina, something like that. But if you're tooting your nose up to it to begin with, then you're not gonna make it to begin with. You're not in it for the right things. People now, they just like to talk about it. Like, hey, I want to put it on social media. So and so school offered me just like that. They don't love the game, like we did.
Well, I heard something the other day that I was going to ask you about. Since you played at Georgia, and I was thinking somebody made a good point about they're restructuring all this NIL stuff and. With NIL and and they're like, it seems to be that they're trying to, make all these new rules about NIL and everything else, but it's really only for the top 2% of college athletes because all them kids ain't getting NIL money.
No,
and the ones that are getting NIL money, all of them kids ain't getting big NIL money.
No. Not at all. And there's the thing, too, you get into that thing called tampering now, which is really the problem, in my opinion. I went to school with A.J. Green, all right? Would A.J. Green have made more money than me in the NIL era? Absolutely. But I would have made, what I would have made. You know what I mean? So you can't, and then they're giving millions of dollars or promising all this money to these kids that haven't done anything. And I was telling one of our coaches the other day, I said, they made these kids sign a contract when they got to school. Saying, hey, if you leave or you transfer or anything like that, you have to pay this money back. We wouldn't have this problem.
Well, that's what's going to happen. They're going to get what, and I think, and I'm all for kids getting compensated. I got no problem with that whatsoever. But they're fixing to get something I don't think they're prepared for, and that is they're going to have to sign contracts.
Yes,
and then they're going to get cut.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get treated like professionals.
Absolutely.
And there's not going to be. It's not going to be guaranteed money. There's not going to be no guaranteed money because the guarantee is going to be, well, your guaranteed money is going to be, well, we will pay for your school.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get school paid for, but you ain't getting none of this money.
That's right. This is what you asked for. This is what you wanted. So this is what you got. So you have to produce.
If we cut you, you ain't getting none of this money. I mean, we'll still pay for your school. But you're cut.
Yes, you don't get this. And, you got parents, trying to negotiate deals and things like that, and that's just not what this game is for. And I can remember AJ Green getting suspended 4 games. Same thing with Todd Gurley, for signing a jersey, and getting money for that. So I'm all for players getting.
Yeah,
paid.
that's insane.
I'd go back in a heartbeat and get, paid for and things like that, but. The way that it's gone now to where, it's pretty much, like I said, it's tampering now. It's not I don't think that the NCAA or the people in charge thought that it would go this far, but at the same time, they're not doing anything to fix it.
No, and the kids involved.
Because they're still making money.
See what we probably need to do, and we ain't out ahead of it because somebody's already doing it, is we probably need to go into the agent business. Mm-hmm. And start a business where we represent college players and, negotiate on their behalf because they're going to have to collectively bargain. I mean, they're going to have to. There's no other way around it. They're fixing to become professional athletes that just happen to be at college. Mm-hmm. But with that, they're going to have to realize that they will get cut.
Yes, and I guess I'm a firm believer in this. If you transfer, all right, let's say, all right, Coach Lamb, you just gave me $1.5 million to come to Timbuktu University, right? And I decide, hey, this is really, really hard, and I don't want to be here anymore, and I decide to leave. Well, you should be like, hey, I'm gonna need all that money back.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's just me.
Yeah.
Because I invested this in you for this, and
thinking that you were going to stay here.
Yes. And when we leave schools, we don't get no paycheck from that school anymore.
No, we don't. Once our contract is up, that's it.
Yes. So now, since you want to be in the adult realm of life and negotiate all these deals, and so hey, now we're going to treat you like an adult.
Yeah, things don't go your way, you get butthurt because you didn't get playing time and you want to go somewhere else, or things didn't go the way that you wanted them to go. That's fine.
Yeah. And let's look at why you're leaving. You see a lot, it's just run the right fit. And I understand that. Sometimes, you go and it's just not a right fit. But if you're leaving because you're not doing well in class because you won't go to class, or you're not showing up to meetings, or you're not producing, then that's on you at that point. The fit is not this run the right fit anymore. You see kids going 3-4 different schools, that's bothersome to me.
Yeah. And then, here we are at the high school level trying to prepare these kids for whatever.
Yeah.
And trying to get them to understand, they look at you and tell you, I want to play at the next level. And you're going, but do you really?
Yeah. Do you understand? Because you can't even go to class here.
Yeah.
You're not on time here.
Yeah. Because your actions they're not telling me. And, somebody like you can look at them and go, but do you really? Because I can tell you what happens when you don't. Or I can tell you what happens when you make a bad decision. Or when this happens.
5:45 in the morning for missing class. One day I beat him there. I was like, hey, Coach T, I'm here. You know what I mean? So, and you've seen those track stadiums. They're a little bit taller now. Those track stadiums, on the UGA track.
Yeah.
There was 45 of them. Now, up and down was one. Okay. So you got to do 45 of them. So if that's what you're willing to do every day, and all we're asking you to do is just be on time. Don't wear your Crocs in the weight room. You can't even follow those instructions, but you want to go play D1 college football? Okay.
And then I got to have a discussion with your parent when I sit you a quarter because you can't behave in Miss Johnson's class.
Yes, and Miss Johnson's the best teacher here, and you're going to act up in that lady's class?
Yeah.
No, dog, we ain't doing that.
Yeah. But and then your mama thinks she's gonna come in here and this and that and the third. No, man, I ain't got time for that. What are we doing? As Allie Good would say, what are we doing?
That's one thing I tell my players all the time. I say, hey, please tell your parents the truth before they come in here, because if you don't, then they're gonna learn it when they come in here and talk to you. Just because I tell them all the time, I've been where you're trying to get. I've already been there. I've sat in those seats where you're trying to be at. And it's hard. It is really, really hard. And if I have to micromanage you as a high school player, then you're not going to make it.
No chance. It's just like the coaching universe. When you have a young coach come in, if somebody has to stand over you all the time, I tell kids that all the time about the business world. A boss doesn't have time to stand over you to make sure that you're doing what they asked you to do. That's not what they do. And if that's what they have to do, then they don't need you there. And if that's what it takes to get you to do what you're supposed to do, they're not going to stand over you. They're going to hire somebody else.
That's right. Every chance you get. So, that's why I say, have a older coach on staff, somebody you kind of gravitate to, especially if you're a young coach getting into it. Because, they'll show you, like, I would have loved to have you like my first year. You know what I mean? Because they'll be like, hey, man, hey, dog, you ain't going to do that. You know what I mean? And you learn, as you go along and things like that. But like you said, I never had to be micromanaged as a coach, or a teacher or anything like that either. But it's just one of those things to where, people just got to learn. And this business is hard. We're losing more and more every day, but we're losing more every day because people are realizing that it's hard, and the kids are different. But kids have been the same. You say it all the time. Kids ain't changed. The structure and things have changed, but kids still the same since back then. They just talk a little bit more.
Well, I'm just concerned because your age group, there's not as many of y'all that are getting into it. And then the ones of y'all that are getting into it, there aren't as many of y'all that are good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are knowledgeable. You like you said, you know how to find stuff on YouTube and and look up stuff and smart, and you grew up with a phone in your hand, you know how to access technology and all this other stuff. But the little things, half of your age group, that part is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're already, it's like a double whammy. There ain't a whole lot of y'all getting into the business. And then the ones of y'all that are, half of you ain't going to stick, for various reasons. Cause I think, just generationally, you're going to get in and be like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Now, people like you, who's already done, you've already done the business world. So, I mean, you're doing what you love to do. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, some guys are getting into this that are, in their early 30s, and they're like, man, this ain't, I can make more money doing, whatever. If you're in it for the money, this show ain't it.
This show ain't it. This ain't it. And it's just like I said, with football, you got to love this. You can't like doing this, because if you just like it, like anything else, you're just going to be like, I won't do that no more. You got to love doing this, and, I love going to work. I love, my kids, and, and I make it enjoyable for all of us, because, I mean, it sucks. Some days better than others, that's for sure. But, I just love, I treat all my players the way that my coaches treated me when I was coaching. You know what I mean? And they become some of my best friends, and that's one thing, is because this thing's hard already, and there's no point in us making it even harder, as we go along with this, because if you don't, you're going to be miserable.
Who said you got to embrace the suck? I mean, that's what you got to do.
That's it. Some days are going to suck. We call it Snot Bubble Tuesday for a reason. Georgia's got Bloody Tuesday, and, I've been calling it Snot Bubble Tuesday every day, because, somebody's either going to cry or there's going to be snot bubbles everywhere. So this thing, y'all know what Tuesday is, so it's going to suck, but we're going to make it through. And I love each. I treat them all like they're my own kids. Like you said, we all got kids, no matter if they're biologically ours or not.
That's right. And when they're out there, they're yours. And, you got to push them, sometimes pull them, sometimes carry them, and,
sometimes throw things at them,
get them through it. And then, I think one thing that people should remember too is don't let them leave without you saying something to them.
That's right.
Something positive to them before they leave. Tell them they had a good day, or they did something good, or, I try to, during every drill, say something to every one of them, which with offensive linemen, it's kind of hard because there's so many in your group that you end up having. Because, when you coached at small schools too, and you got a group, especially when you coach receivers like you did, you got 1,000 of them because, if they're D-backs, they're receivers.
Yep.
So you're trying to say something positive, or, at least let them know you're watching, because they'll think nobody's looking and just half behind go through a drill. And
ain't no doubt. I just go back to my Georgia days. I could have swore that, Mike Bubba hated me, with a passion. I thought and I didn't like him either at the time. You know what I mean? And now, like, he's like a great friend, you know what I mean? Just because, he pushed me, to, be the best I could be and things like that. You don't understand it at the time, but now that I'm in it and I'm a coach now, you're just like, oh, that's why he did that. I promise you, I've run into every player has had a personality like me when I was in school at some point. The good kid, the rambunctious one, the ones that, decided he didn't want to go to class that day. I've ran into those players being a coach. I'm like, oh, so this is what Coach Bubba was talking about. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I wonder he was mad at me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked me either. I figured that out a long time ago. I was such a turd anyway. Golly, I was awful. And I've always hated that kid. And I look back and I'm like, golly, no wonder the guys I played against or with hated my guts. I was an idiot.
Oh, that was me.
I was like, oh man, I need to apologize. I'm not going to.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, looking back, oh, that was bad. But it also, a lot of that too, I'm not going to apologize for it, because I had to gain some kind of competitive edge. I didn't have the ability everybody else had. So
I had to win one way or another.
Yeah, talking junk, running my mouth. I had to win the psychological war, if nothing else.
Absolutely. And if you've ever heard Coach Lamp talk in general, or follow him on Twitter, that he won a lot of battles with that tongue of his. I'm telling you.
Nah, I just try to. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized you can't take yourself too seriously.
No.
You just got to kind of have a good time, cut up, and I'm one of the kings of self-deprecating humor. I don't take myself too seriously. I don't, and I think that's something you got to learn too when you go to sit in the big chairs. You can't change. You can't. You got to remember how you got there. You can't. You can't. You just got to be you. And that's something,
right.
Tim Glanton told me that, and Nick Davis, they always told me that. Just be you, baby. Just be yourself.
Ain't no doubt. And I've had my opportunities. I've been in the hunt for 4 jobs, and I've come in second in those. And it gets discouraging every once in a while, but then, you look at it and say, hey, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
That's right.
And you learn a little bit more as you go along. And, like you said, don't change who you are. And that's one thing that I've promised myself that I'd be if I ever got that chance was, just remember what got me here. Remember to be the good guy and be the bad guy when I need to, but you still got a show to run. This boat don't sail without you. But at the end of the day, never forget what got you there. The values that you gained, and treat people all the same. No matter the title of the job.
Yeah, that's very important, because at the end of the day, you can't do it by yourself.
No.
And it takes everybody doing their job. And really, especially bigger programs, you learned this from Rush, you learned it with Rodemaker, you learned it from Strickland. I'm not saying that that they don't know football at all, because I know all 3 of those. I don't know Rush, but I mean, just hearing you and other people. And I know Strick, I know Rod, I know they know football, but when you are running that kind of an organization, you're running an organization. You're a CEO. So you have to have people that you can trust that can do other things. Like you said, taking stuff off their plate, that you ain't got time to worry about that. You need to go do, you need to be the head coach.
Right. And I can promise you this, if your head man doesn't have to worry about little stuff, he'll be a lot happier and you'll get home a lot quicker. I can promise you that.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, that's always a plus. Not have to.
He's having to do everything and having to ask you to do everything. And, it goes back to being micromanaged. As an adult, we shouldn't have to be micromanaged, so if you see something, do it, and I can promise you this, if your head coach sees you doing stuff, he's going to remember those things. And, and you're going to get home a lot quicker. Those 11 o'clock nights start turning to 10:15. Those 10:15 start turning 8 o'clock. It gets a little bit easier, when you start doing little things like that.
Well, Coach Troupe, I can assure you that the people that matter are seeing you do the little things, and it won't be long, and you're going to get the one that you're supposed to get, and it's going to be big things popping. But until then, I know you're going to have great success down at Thomasville as you turn over this new page in the next chapter in the book of Troupe. And I'm so glad you were able to be on with us. I appreciate you for being on. And if you need me for anything, you can always call.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you for everything you've done for me in this short time of knowing you. And, hopefully we'll cross that bridge and get to work together here soon.
Thanks for being on, Coach.
All right, brother. See you.